All right, here is the finished base level of memory foam for the dog area. This should be sufficient enough for both of them to sleep. I did a thermal layer, which was a layer of aluminum foil, about 4 layers of 1/16 bubble wrap, and then another layer of aluminum foil, a layer of tarp, and then a flat bed sheet, which then I covered up with a fitted bed sheet to kind of hold it all in. That's that area. Then my area, which needs to be tucked in a little bit, is the same concept of preventing heat from coming up. I taped the layer of, as you can see, I did a layer of aluminum foil, heavy duty aluminum foil, and then about 4 layers of bubble wrap, then another layer of aluminum foil. I taped all those down so that they would basically be stuck to each other and stuck to the vehicle, so that way if there was any like sliding around, I didn't want the plastics to slide around. So those layers are taped to each other. The only thing that's not taped to each other is the tarp that is just basically sitting there, because this tarp is medium duty tarp, and I'm probably just going to replace it with some cheap tarp from the Dollar Tree. That way my tarps are available, because I purchased 4 medium duty tarps, so that if it's ever raining, I can, off the back of the car, make a little small room to cook in should I need to, or drape over the hood should I need to cook outside, because I haven't yet hardwired the inverter to the battery, and I want to do that, but it seems a real daunting task with all the plastics that are on the car. And so I just don't want to go like ripping off plastics and breaking tabs and then having stuff hanging. So that's probably something that it might be like the only thing that I do get professionally done. I have the solar panel to put up on the top, and I have like a 7 amp hour battery and solar control, but I really don't have much of anything but a electric skillet. So I wanted to have it set up where I could cook inside the vehicle, but the way that it's looking, if it rains, I'll more than likely just have to pop the hood or just wait till it's done raining, until I get it set up where the inverter's inside. So this bed situation though, I ordered a king size mattress that's 2 inches. I thought that there were 2 king size mattresses in there. I just was sleepy when I ordered it. So essentially what I was going to do was make this area the bed, and then unfold the king size mattress in there, and have 1 layer of memory foam throughout the whole entire thing. And then the wood pieces, where I had those left over from when I made the dog crate. I just made just a simple, nothing like that they couldn't break, but when they see something in front of them, they don't just like bogart it. So I made like a little crate that was back there, and so I took that apart, and the door for it, which is what you're seeing now, that door is a perfect size to put on the floor to be a flat surface to hold my totes and stuff. So now that everything's fitted out with the bed, then I can get not bust up my knees and get a decent measurement for the area where the totes are going to be. I'm going to stack up totes here to the ceiling, and then I have these crates that I'm going to put in the center here to block the dogs from coming forward, and then I'll put against those totes, I'll put my cooler, so that whole side right there will be blocked off until I'm ready to get to it, which then I'll just sit in the bed, roll the cooler over, sit on the cooler, and then access the totes there. I was going to take 2 totes and have 1 tote of kitchen stuff and take my propane grill, but because I'm limited in space and I haven't set up the luggage rack, then I'm just going to be taking out a lot of room for myself. So there will be one tote in there of clothes, and then on top of that tote will be the cat crate, which is able to be downsized, so that like when we park up, I can downsize it and allow her to have, you know, to sit up top of there or just lay in the bed with me. And it'll downsize to be flat and just sit right on top of the tote. I could use it as a table or whatever. And so I want to keep it as minimal as possible, but still have all the clothes that I need, and still have my cooking, what is that thing called, the electric skillet, as well as my huge cooler. My huge cooler will go in there and have like my drinks and ice and stuff like that. So but it's heavy duty enough for me to sit on it, so I don't want to have to like take out too much of my space, so that when I decide to sit on the cooler and use it as a chair, you know, I have room for my legs back there. Or if the cat's walking around and she wants to, you know, want to set up her little litter box or whatever, she has this little spot there she can go to the bathroom. I want to experiment with her going outside to the bathroom, but she's not really on like a schedule, so I don't want to have an issue with bathroom situations inside here. If we're on the road and she starts doing well and goes outside with the dogs, then I'll just dump the litter box, and then I won't have that. But for right now, that stuff's gonna be at the top on top of the large tote that's gonna be sitting right there. And her crate. And then so what we did was, with the one king size mattress, we cut it down, and there's a plastic vent or something here and some wires. I stuffed those down in, and the vent is the only thing that's sticking up. So I doubled or tripled up on the memory foam in this area, and doubled up in this area, and then just have a single down there so that my feet can fit down there, because I really just need enough padding, just one level of padding for my feet. And obviously it's just enough room for me to fit in there with no shoes on. Over there I kept the all-weather mats, so that way I can just take my shoes off and hop right over. And there's just enough room. I mean, there's just enough room for me to hop over. But that's why I wanted to keep this door open, so that I can hop in on this side or hop in on this side of the door. So regardless, I have like at least 2 modes of entry. I don't want to block myself off that bad, but worst case scenario, if I end up picking up stuff, or, you know, things get disorganized and things are out and I'm exhausted and don't feel like putting it up, I still have like this whole side here to be able to fill up with stuff, and then still be able to just open this door and just lay down in my bed. Which is awesome, because I can just sit here, take my shoes off, toss them over to the other side, and then lay down. Which is why, you know, I had to go the minimalist route. But I definitely didn't want to go the minimalist route on like my tools and all the power supplies and things like that, because if I'm ever out in the middle of, you know, anywhere in Bumble and BFE, then at least I'll have my tools and everything that I need, fishing supplies. Essentially, this spot right here is supposed to be for the bathroom. I'm going to use a 5-gallon bucket and a 5-gallon bucket toilet lid. They sell them for about, I think they were like, it was like $9 or $11. I'll show you guys that another day. But yeah, so we definitely needed stable ground for that, which is why we have the wood down there. We also wanted stable ground for the totes, so that there's no wobbling of the totes when the cat crate is on top of it. Because if my cat hates the wobbling around, it freaks her out. So this is the bubble wrap. You can see that. I used heavy duty Scotch tape. I put that tarp level there. So they also have, this is just a rough setup for the base level, because the dogs like to like kind of like dig a little when they're fixing their blankets. But they have another, I took off I have a memory foam mattress that had a cover on it, a zipper cover on it. I took that off, and it has a little foam in it as well. So you're gonna see another layer of material on top of that. Also a moving blanket underneath that. I'm going to put the moving blanket on top of this sheet. Then I'm going to put their white thin foam on top of that. Then they have fleece blankets. Thick fleece blankets are going to go on top of that. And then they have 2 thin fleece blankets that are going to go on top of that. So they're going to have a nice, right now they lay on the floor, but they're going to have a nice plushy little area to lay in, and I shouldn't have to hear too much drama from them or have them sliding around, because before their floor was this black material and it was very slippery for them and they hated it. But here for myself, I have this should suffice, but I'm also going to take my comforter from my bed and put that down, as well as a sleeping bag and put that down. So I'll have about 4 more inches, which will take me a little bit above, if I'm not laying on it, it'll take me a little bit above this dash area, the center console area, while I'm driving, which is no big deal. Because what I'll essentially end up doing is, if I want to put the cat right next to me in her crate, I can just put a little tarp down over top of all of my stuff, and then put her on top of that so she can see me. She likes to see me when we're driving. So I'll put her on there, and then when it's time for us to like get settled and I get food and hang out, I'll downsize her crate, sit it over there on top of that Toto that's going to be over there, and then I'll just crawl in here and set up the pillows. I can have the pillows here as a backrest, have 2 thick memory foam pillows. And this is shorter than my body because I'm 5'5". This is shorter than my body, but my pillows are going to be up right here. So it will be perfect. And I wanted it that way because that way when I do pack up and get ready to go, I can just pick up those pillows and either stack them on the tote while her crate's here, or have her crate over there and just have them laid out right here out of the way. And then be like sitting on the cooler and just like having a meal back there or whatever. So I'm satisfied with this. I know everybody has like built out their stuff, and I debated it, but just look at all of, I wanted to be able to keep the safety since the dogs are back there. I have, as you can see, there's this little circle there. I can't really see if you can see it, but that is an airbag, and we have one on either side. We have one right here, and we have one over there. So if I would have taken the plastics off, it would have been a freaking mess, and it could have been done. It would have been a large job, and it would have gave us much more space, because we're looking at about 4 inches total of space that we would be gaining. I think it's about 4 to 5 inches of space we would have been gaining if we took the plastics off. The issue here was that it wasn't worth it, because it was just a little bit of cab space for the dogs, and they curl up with each other. It's not like if I took that off, it would be more storage space for myself. So that was just a not gonna happen. And though I could have built a platform for them so that they could sleep on top of, and I could have storage underneath them and have like a pull-out storage underneath them, I didn't even want to do that, because they do like to sit up, like sit while I'm driving, and they're Dobermans, so they sit tall. The only reason I didn't like them standing up before was because when they stood up, they'd slide all over the place. Now, even though they have the space to stand up, I highly doubt that they're going to be standing up with that cushy little spot under there. And I don't want to make it harder for them to get in and out of the truck, because they already kind of have a hard time getting in already. So I don't want to like have to have a ramp or anything like that. And I don't want them to slip and hurt themselves if we get in the water, and then we're like, getting in the car to get ready to go, and then they try to get in and bust their butt. So I don't want to deal with that. And I also wanted to keep it as minimal as possible, because I don't see myself selling this vehicle, but I want to make sure that in the future, if I were to want to like put the seats, at least one seat of seats back there, the backmost seats, that you know, there's still this foam and carpet situation underneath. It was crazy to vacuum, but it was still doable. It wasn't too bad. So everything's set up. I probably will put some kind of foam cover on this chair because it's fabric, and that might be like the only other expense that I do take for cosmetics, because if I get wet and get in here, I don't want my seats to be starting to stink. And that side over there, if you can see towards the door, it's missing some cushion from whoever had it before me. I guess they kind of like slid out of the car and then messed up the foam. I could have actually probably done that with the foam that I had, but I was too busy trying to make sure my bed was nice and comfortable. So I don't run on. This is where we are, and when we're ready to go and I start stacking up the totes in here, then I'll build their bed out, because they sleep on their stuff right now. So the stuff that they're sleeping on now is going to all get packed in here, and I'll give you guys another video and show you what that all looks like set up perfectly. And oh, I also because this was very uneven, it was like really bulky in the center and things were kind of all over the place. What I did was I took some duct tape and then I just wrapped around the non-fitted mattress, or the non-fitted what is that called, sheet, so that way it was held together with something like how a mattress normally is formed. And then I put the what is that called, the sheet that's a fitted sheet. I put the fitted sheet to kind of over top of everything to kind of like snugly hold it in without the tape, so that way I still had the looseness, because you still want the looseness for, like, you know, when you slide in and out, you don't want to have to like have your sheets like falling off or like you rubbing up against everything. So, and the same thing with them, they like to dig around in their blankets and make them fluffy the way they want. So I made it nice and loose on the bottom, so that way if they do dig around, they're not like ripping up the foam. So, and it's not really much room in there for them to dig around anyway, so but just in case, it's like that. Anyway, hopefully this helped. This was super low budget. The cost of the oh, let me give you the rundown on that. So the reason I went this route was for affordability, for one reason, which is one of the primary reasons, as well as the removability of it all. I could easily just roll this up and stick it in, you know, a large size laundry bag, and it would fit perfectly fine. One of those drawstring laundry bags, if I roll this up, it'll fit right in one of those. Same thing with the back one, almost like how the sleeping bags do. For if I were to, let's just say, need the ground space to like pack stuff up and do something like a shopping trip or something. So I looked up the prices for what is that stuff called? It's basically like a roll of insulation. People were using them on their windows, and the insulation was like, for like 50 feet, like $30, like 20 something, $30. And it was basically just enough to do the windows. It wasn't enough to do the windows and the floors. So I priced it out to buy the bubble wrap, and I got 650 feet of that bubble wrap. I still have another roll of the bubble wrap to go. I wanted to do the ceilings so that I could keep the heat out, but it doesn't really seem like there is much of a place to... First of all, I'd have to cut out a lot, do like cutouts. Second of all, I'd have to find how the heck I was going to tape it down. And since I did like 4 layers, that would kind of be a mess. So as long as I used it on the floor, since the exhaust pipe is down there and I could keep that heat out, and also use the bubble wrap itself for like a form of a more firm memory foam type of, more foam type of structure, I put that down before I put the memory foam down. So I bought heavy duty, great value aluminum foil, super thick, 150 feet of that for like $3 or $4. And then the roll of bubble wrap was like 15 bucks, maybe 20. I can't remember. It was either 15, 20, or 25. I can't really remember. But even still, it's a little bit more. But if I were to actually want to insulate this entire ceiling, 4 layers, the one that was expensive, for a small amount, was a layer of foil, 2 layers of thin bubble wrap, and then another layer of foil. And so I made a layer of foil, 4 layers of bubble wrap, and a layer of foil, just to further insulate it even further. And I have enough bubble wrap that I'd be able to do the ceiling, all the windows, and all the floor, except for the driver's seat, because I mean, I could do the driver's seat, but I mean, it's really unnecessary. I may actually do it though, because I have the all-proof weather mat down there, so that I could put some bubble wrap under there. And instead of using wood to build the floors up, mostly people use 2x4s, and it's a sound and strong structure. But for one, they have to now use the drill to remove it if they were to want to make any kind of adjustments on, and that's just something I didn't want to do when I could use tarps that are useful to me, as well as the bubble wrap to fill in these random little divots that you have here that are totally unnecessary. And this piece of plywood here is only like a 16th, I think it's 16th of an inch plywood. So, you know, you can put those in sheets and then just slide them right out, stack them on top of each other, and not have too much bulk. So essentially you have all this space with basically a minimum amount of work. The hardest part that I had to deal with was putting in the foil and the bubble wrap and taping that all down when it was hot as hellfire outside. And that took me a little over an hour, and that is in place. It doesn't need to come out. The memory foam now is protecting it from getting squished, and I have all the space that I need. So, you know, as long as you leave yourself enough space to slide your things around, and you can use regular totes. And then those totes, when you're done your trip, you can put those totes in your house or your apartment, and they're waterproof, or in your basement, and you can still use them. Like, you would have to disassemble the wood, or leave it in the vehicle, and then now have your vehicle all staying as a camper, and not really be able to utilize that vehicle. And so I just don't see the benefit, as a person with, you know, 4 back surgeries and a quite not, I'd say, limited ability. I just don't see the justification to build out a camper like this at all. I don't see it. So we have all that space, and we're able to hit the road whenever we want. When we get back, we can get back and use this vehicle as it was meant to be used before we decided we were going to go adventure time it all over the place. So that's just my input on everything. And one last thing. So I ended up spending a little over the amount of money that I was going to spend for the insulation, but I'm saving a crap ton of money by insulating the vehicle from the air conditioning. And I'm also able to, if later on I want to put these seats back in, I can slide this bed forward and still utilize this bed for the dogs, and then still take on 2 passengers of whatever size, because now I have all this room to have them having leg room. We got the city here. Hey, yes it is.
If you don't feel it, you're walking dead.
That's right. So we got a nice little soundtrack going on here for our video. Yeah, so that was my ideas behind everything. I hope that helped, and I hope it encouraged people, because everybody's building their vans out and their cars out, and they want to get around. But, you know, first, not all people know how to do that, and they're thinking that they have to do this whole kitchen setup. There's no reason to put a kitchen on the back of this vehicle. There isn't, because in all honesty, especially when you're traveling with pets, you want your animals to have as much space as possible. I'm taking a foldable, you know those tables that you have like at like barbecues and whatnot, the plastic tables that they fold up and they have handle on them once they fold up. Like, oh, beer pong tables. That's what I should use. Beer pong tables. I'm gonna stick a beer pong table up there, fold it up, stick my bug out bag on top of that, strap that sucker down, and when I want to actually set up camp, then boom, I have a table. I can take my grill, I can set up my table next to the front of my car. If I haven't had my inverter hardwired, I can set that sucker up right here, and I can open up the trunk and start cooking right off of the side of my car. It's doable. Or do it off the back of the car and have camp off the back of the car, without having to be cramped in the vehicle when I'm sleeping. Nobody's cramped. Everybody has the perfect amount of space that they need to just lay down and sleep a nice night. And I pack a lot of clothes with me. I mean, I don't play around. I'm not like trying to be minimalist on the clothes, nor do I like to be stinking. And the 5-gallon bucket that I got, I have it has a shower handle and a pump that goes in the 5-gallon bucket, so I can put bags in the 5-gallon bucket, use the bathroom with the toilet seat, and then take that cap off of that toilet seat, dump my trash bag in the dumpster, and then I can utilize that 5-gallon bucket, fill it up with water, heat that water up, stick the pump in there, and then use that pump as an outdoor shower if I need to. You know, it's very minimal, but you have to have the essentials. I don't like to be stinking, okay? And I would much rather carry everything that I need without feeling cramped than to be walking around stinking. That's just not me. So I have one full tote just of clothes, and I've got it all the way down to rash guards and my scuba gear up in the bug out bag, all the essentials. I have like freaking 20 pairs of socks, so that way I use my reusable bags and I don't have to worry about wearing the same socks every day. I just take my socks off like I normally have been every day, dump them in the bag. Once I get a load of laundry, I can wash my laundry and hang it up outside if I have to. I have a laundry line for that. But then I still won't be sitting there without clean clothing, or smelling funky. So we don't skimp on the clothing. We definitely don't do that. And we're not skimping on the bed situation. We're not doing that. We will, however, not take the propane grill, and we will not be carrying a propane tank in here, because I'm not going to put a luggage rack on the back just to hold propane and maybe one tote, when I can just spend, I think I spent $25 on an electric skillet. I can plug that skillet right in there and cook my food right in the vehicle. And if that's not enough for me and I have to put on the inverter to do a larger meal, then I'll do that, and I'll set myself up to do that. And even if I don't want to take the table down, I can still plug in the inverter, get a large orange extension cord, plug that sucker in, run it through the window, and I'll still be able to cook right there in my vehicle. So, you know, this is what we want. We want ease. We want to be able to easily get out and get around and not be missing our essentials. All my fishing gear will fit in here. The dog food will fit in here. Everything will fit in here with no problem. So hopefully that was able to help you. I know I ran on a while, but you know, there were some key topics that I've been seeing, and I know it looks like whatever it looks like as the base layer. Once you put your blankets in here and you get set up with your pillows, your totes are in here, you're not even going to see this stuff. You're not even going to see the floor anymore. You're going to have maybe this one little section of floor that's going to be open here, just so you can use the bathroom and, you know, shift around to get to your totes. And that's I mean, that's more room than many of these people have had, because a lot of times they have their bed and then they have to put their bed up so that they can access their supplies and get their meals cooked and whatnot. Or they're in their bed, right in their bed, and right on the side of their bed is all of their kitchen area. And I don't want to be all up in the electronics like that. In my opinion, if you're laying down next to something, how are you going to escape should you get electric shock or whatever? You need to have your bed over there, and you need to be able to be up and your face away from that stuff, for God forbid it explodes in your face. So you know, your cooler sits about this high, you can sit right in there and make yourself a little table. Or you can sit on the 5-gallon bucket, turn it upside down, and use the cooler as a countertop to put your electric skillet and cook with. I'm taking a glass cutting board that's about this size. I will be sliding that under my bed so that way when I want to cut up anything, I can first cut everything up on top of the cooler while I'm sitting on the 5-gallon bucket, clean everything up real nice, and then put everything into the skillet to get the skillet ready, and then put the skillet on top of the cutting board, and then cook on top of that surface and eat right on top of that surface. You don't really need much. The whole purpose is to get out there. The more money you save on this nonsense, you'll have more money to be able to pay for gas and tolls along the way, and park fees if you decide that you want to camp out in a park somewhere. So anyhow, finally again, I'm closing out, and I hope it was able to help you, and that you are encouraged to just get out there and don't worry about what it looks like. Make it as comfortable as you can for yourself. Give yourself the room and get going.